The mahogany conference table stretched before me like a canyon of polished wood, making the single envelope at its center seem impossibly small. $5. That's what my father left me. $5 and a note that read, "For my daughter, who always asks the right questions." I'm Samantha, an investigative journalist, and right now I'm watching my stepsister Kaya bounce in her chair like she just won the lottery. Which, essentially, she has. As stated in the will, Mary, our family lawyer, continued in her measured tone, the Burke estate, including all properties, investments, and business holdings, is to be transferred in its entirety to Miss Kaya Jones. This can't be right. The words escaped my lips before I could stop them. Dad always said, "Said what, Sam?" Kaya's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the table. That you were his favorite? That you deserved everything because you're so principled? She practically spat the last word. I gripped the arms of my chair, feeling the leather crack under my fingernails. He believed in responsibility, Kaya. In using wealth to make a difference, not for shopping sprees and Instagram posts. Ladies, Mary interrupted, adjusting her glasses. There's more to discuss. But Kaya was already on her phone, probably texting her entire contact list. Oh my God, wait until everyone hears about this. I need to call my interior designer. The morning sun streaming through the office windows caught the diamond studs in her ears. Dad's last birthday gift to her. I remembered how he'd looked when she opened them, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. There are certain conditions, Mary pressed on, but Kaya was barely listening. Conditions? Whatever, I'll have my people handle it. She stood up, smoothing her designer dress. I need to go plan my celebration party. You'll get the invitation, Sam, if you promise not to be such a downer. I stayed seated as Kaya clicked her way out of the room on her ridiculous heels, leaving behind a cloud of expensive perfume and the echo of her self-satisfied laugh. Samantha. Mary's voice was softer now. Your father was a smart man, I cut in, unfolding the $5 bill. Too smart for this to be everything. Mary's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Sometimes things aren't what they appear. Like how he appeared to favor his stepdaughter over his own child? I stood up, gathering my bag. Or how he appeared to forget everything he ever taught me about responsibility and purpose. The note, Mary began, is cryptic and useless. I shoved it into my pocket, just like this whole process has been. As I reached the door, Mary called out, Your father kept detailed records of everything, Samantha. Everything. I turned back. What are you trying to tell me? She was already gathering her papers, not meeting my eyes. Nothing specific, just, you're a journalist, you know how to follow a paper trail. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Skylar. How'd it go? Want to grab coffee? I need to go, I told Mary, but paused at the threshold. Did he say anything? At the end? Mary looked up, her face carefully composed. He said you were your mother's daughter, that you'd understand when the time was right. My mother. The investigative reporter who'd exposed 3 major corruption cases before cancer took her. Dad had always said we shared the same fire, the same need to uncover the truth, the right questions, paper trails, understanding. Suddenly, the $5 felt heavier in my pocket. Thank you, Mary. I pulled out my phone to text Skylar back. Coffee, yes, and bring your laptop. We've got some digging to do. As I walked out of the law office, my stepsister's voice carried from the lobby, already planning her celebration. But for the first time since the reading began, I felt something other than anger. Dad had taught me that every story has layers, that truth hides in the details. And if there's one thing I know how to do, it's uncover the truth. I pulled out the note again, studying his familiar handwriting. The right questions. Well, here's my first one. What was my father really trying to tell me with this inheritance? Something tells me $5 is just the beginning of this story. Look at this. I turned my laptop screen towards Skylar, who was already on her 3rd espresso. Dad made monthly transfers to an account labeled Legacy Fund for the past 15 years. We'd commandeered our usual corner table at the daily grind, surrounded by empty coffee cups and scattered papers. 3 days had passed since the will reading, and I'd barely slept. How much are we talking about? Skylar leaned forward, her investigative instincts, honed from years as my research partner, kicking in. That's the thing. I pulled up another document. The amounts varied, but they always ended in 13 cents, every single transfer. 13 cents? Skylar's brow furrowed. That's deliberate, I finished. Dad never did anything by accident. My phone buzzed with another text from Kaya. Party this Saturday. Wear something fabulous. I ignored it. Have you talked to any of his old business partners? Skylar asked, pulling out her notebook. Most won't return my calls, but I did manage to get coffee with Talia yesterday. You know, the woman who used to run the company's community outreach program? The one Kaya fired last week? Bingo. I pulled out my recorder. Listen to this. Talia's voice crackled through the speaker. Your father was obsessed with this idea of empowering women in business. He kept talking about some grand plan, but the board always shut him down, said it wasn't profitable enough. Did he mention anything specific? My recorded voice asked. Just that he was working on something bigger, something that would change everything. But then, the recording trailed off. Then he got sick, Skylar finished softly. A barista approached with fresh coffees. You guys have been here for hours. Everything okay? Just fine, I smiled, sliding some papers over a particularly interesting bank statement. Working on a story. After she left, Skylar lowered her voice. What about Mary? The lawyer must know something. She's being careful, but yesterday she accidentally left this in my mailbox. I pulled out a sticky note with an address scrawled on it. Storage unit? Dad's private office, the one not even Kaya knows about. Skylar's eyes lit up. When are we going? Now. I started packing up my laptop. But first, what do you make of this? I showed her a photo from Dad's last charity gala. He stood with a group of women, all wearing silver pins shaped like keys. Could be nothing, Skylar said, but she was already grabbing her coat, or could be everything. The storage facility was in an industrial part of town, far from the glossy high-rises where Dad had worked. Unit 1313, of course. Your father really had a thing for 13, huh? Skylar commented as I input the code Mary had provided. The metal door rolled up with a groan, revealing walls lined with filing cabinets and a desk covered in papers. The air smelled like leather and old books, just like Dad's study used to. Start with the most recent files, I directed, moving toward the desk. Look for anything about the legacy fund or those silver keys. We worked in focused silence, the only sound the rustling of papers and occasional muttered observations. Then Skylar gasped, Sam, you need to see this. She held up a leather-bound ledger. Inside, page after page listed women's names, dates, and amounts. In the margins were handwritten notes. Supporting daughter through medical school. Funding tech startup. Legal fees for workplace discrimination suit. He was helping them, I whispered. All of them. There's more. Skylar pointed to a sealed envelope taped to the back cover. My name was written on it in Dad's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a silver key pin, identical to the ones from the photo, and another note. For my daughter who always asks the right questions. Sometimes the greatest legacy isn't what we leave behind, but what we set in motion. The key opens more than just doors. Dad. Sam. Skylar was staring at her phone. You need to see this too. She showed me a news alert. Burke Industries accused of systematic discrimination against female employees, multiple lawsuits pending. The company Kaya just inherited, I said slowly, has been secretly suppressing women while Dad was secretly supporting them. What are you going to do? I picked up the key pin, feeling its weight in my palm. Dad always said a good journalist follows the story wherever it leads. I think it's time to find out exactly what my sister inherited. This could get messy, Skylar warned. It already is. I clipped the pin to my jacket. But Dad left me this story for a reason, and I'm going to tell it. Looking around the room full of secrets, I finally understood. $5 wasn't my inheritance. The truth was, Kaya's inheritance celebration was exactly as tasteless as I expected. The mansion's marble foyer sparkled with champagne fountains and ice sculptures, while waiters circulated with trays of caviar and gold-dusted chocolates. I adjusted my simple black dress, feeling the silver keypin against my collar like armor. "Miss, the service entrance is around back." A security guard stopped me at the door. "She's my sister," Kaya's voice rang out. "Let her in." She floated down the stairs in a dress that probably cost more than my yearly rent. "Sam, you actually came, and you're wearing that." "Wouldn't miss it," I smiled, noting how the company's top executives clustered around her like moths to a flame. Quite a party. Isn't it divine? Daddy would have loved it. She grabbed a champagne flute from a passing tray. Though maybe not the cost, but who's counting now? If she only knew what I'd discovered in the past week. The systematic discrimination, the buried harassment complaints, the suspicious firing of female executives, all while Dad had been secretly building his network of support for the very women his company had wronged. "Speaking of counting," I said carefully, "how are those quarterly reports looking?" Kaya waved her hand dismissively. "Ben handles all that boring stuff now. You remember Ben, right? From the board?" Ben Nelson stood across the room, deep in conversation with other suits. The same Ben who'd orchestrated most of the discriminatory policies, according to Dad's files. "Oh, I remember Ben." I touched my keypin. "How's he adjusting to his new role?" "He's been amazing," Kaya beamed. "Says we'll double profits by next quarter. Though honestly, I tune out when he talks numbers. Oh, you have to see what I'm doing with Daddy's old office." She dragged me upstairs, chattering about Italian marble and custom wallpaper, but I was watching the reactions to my presence, the nervous glances, the whispered conversations. They knew who I was, what I did for a living. "We're gutting the whole floor," Kaya announced, throwing open the office door. "That awful old desk is already gone." I stopped short. "The desk? Dad's desk?" "That heavy wooden thing? Ben had it removed yesterday, said we needed a more modern look." My heart raced. That desk had hidden compartments. I'd watched Dad access them countless times as a child. "Where is it now?" "Who knows? The salvage company took it. Sam, are you okay? You look weird." A commotion downstairs saved me from responding. We returned to find Ben making a toast. "To new beginnings," he raised his glass, eyes fixed on me, "and to leaving the past where it belongs." The crowd applauded. I grabbed a champagne flute and raised it back. "To legacy," I countered loudly, "and to asking the right questions." Ben's smile faltered slightly. Beside me, Kaya frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just something Dad taught me." I pulled out my phone and showed her the news alert about the lawsuits. Like asking why our father's company has such an interesting pattern of treatment toward female employees. Kaya's face flushed. "That's ridiculous. Ben said those claims are baseless." "Did he? Interesting." I spotted Talia entering the party. "Maybe we should ask her opinion." "You invited her?" Kaya hissed. "She was fired for incompetence." "Was she? Or was she fired because she knew too much?" "You're being dramatic." Kaya grabbed my arm. "This is my night, Sam. Don't ruin it with your conspiracy theories." I gently removed her hand. "You're right. It is your night, and everything that comes with it. The money, the power, the responsibility. It's all yours now, including whatever's been happening in that company." "Is that a threat?" "No." I headed for the door, pausing to look back at my sister, suddenly seeming small among all her expensive decorations. "It's a warning, because I don't think Dad left me $5 and a note just to be cruel. I think he was trying to tell me something." "Sam, wait!" But I was already walking out, texting Skylar, "Need to find that desk. Tonight." My phone buzzed with her response. "Already on it. You'll never guess who bought it." Behind me, the party continued, music and laughter spilling into the night. But underneath it all, I could feel something shifting, like the first tremors before an earthquake. Ben's voice carried from inside. Don't worry about her, Kaya. Everything's under control. I touched my key pin again, thinking of all those women in Dad's ledger. No, I whispered, it's really not. You bought Dad's desk? I stared at Mary across her home office, where the massive oak piece now dominated the room. Technically, my husband bought it at auction. She ran her hand along the worn surface. Beautiful craftsmanship. Shame to let it end up in some warehouse. Skylar circled the desk like a detective at a crime scene. The compartments you mentioned. Any idea how to access them? Dad always said the key opens more than just doors. I fingered the silver pin. Mary, did he ever mention? I can't tell you anything specific, she interrupted, but her eyes flickered to a particular spot on the desk. Attorney-client privilege. But I can leave you two alone with this lovely antique for a few minutes while I make coffee. The moment she left, Skylar and I began examining every inch of the desk. The wood was cool under my fingers as I traced the intricate carvings. Here, Skylar pointed to a tiny keyhole, almost invisible within a decorative flourish. Think your pin. The silver key slid in perfectly. With a soft click, a hidden panel sprang open, revealing a USB drive and another envelope. Sam, Mary called from the kitchen. How do you take your coffee? Black is fine. I quickly copied the drive's contents to my laptop, while Skylar photographed the documents from the envelope. We barely finished before Mary returned, carrying a tray. Her knowing smile suggested she'd given us exactly enough time. Find anything interesting? You could say that. I showed her the first document we'd discovered, a detailed report of systematic harassment cover-ups at Burke Industries, complete with dates, names, and amounts paid in hush money. Ben's signature is on everything, Skylar noted, scrolling through the files. He orchestrated the whole thing. And now he's controlling Kaya, I added, using her as a figurehead while he runs the company his way. My phone buzzed, a text from Talia. Need to talk. It's worse than we thought. Meet me at Riverside Park? Go, Mary said, reading my expression. But Sam, be careful. Ben has a lot to lose. 20 minutes later, I found Talia pacing by the river, clutching a manila envelope. I kept copies, she said without preamble. Of everything. The real reason they fired me? I was building a case. Your father was helping me, but then he got sick, I finished. And Ben saw an opportunity. He's been destroying evidence, threatening witnesses. But he missed these. She handed me the envelope. Your father said if anything happened to him, I should find you. Said you'd know what to do. I opened the envelope. Inside were dozens of statements from female employees, detailed accounts of discrimination, photos, emails, a paper trail of corruption that led straight to the top. There's more, Talia said. Ben's planning to sell off the company's charitable foundation, the one your father used to help women start their own businesses. Over my dead body, I pulled out my phone, dialing my editor's number. Time to write the story. Ben will fight back, Talia warned. Let him. I thought of Kaya, surrounded by sycophants at her party. My sister needs to see the truth, even if it hurts. Back at my apartment, Skylar helped me organize the evidence while I wrote. Hours blurred together as we built the case, connecting dots Dad had left for us to find. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. Kaya. Is it true? Her voice was shaky. Ben just called an emergency board meeting. Said you're planning to publish some ridiculous expose. It's all true, Kaya, every word. Check your email. I just sent you the draft. Silence stretched between us as she read. Then quietly, there are women I know on this list. Women who trusted the company, who trusted us. What do I do? She sounded young suddenly, uncertain. Ben says he'll handle it, but remember what Dad always said about handling things? Face the truth head on, she quoted softly, even when it hurts. Exactly. I took a deep breath. The story goes live in 6 hours. You need to decide which side of it you want to be on. Sam, She paused. I need to think. After she hung up, Skylar looked at me. Think she'll do the right thing? I don't know. I turned back to my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. But Dad believed in giving people the chance to choose. That's what this whole elaborate plan was about. And if she chooses wrong? I thought of the ledger full of women's names, of Dad's secret support network, of the silver key that had unlocked more than just a desk. Then we do what journalists do, I said, starting to type. We tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. The sun was rising as I wrote the final line, its light catching the silver key pin still on my collar. In 6 hours, everything would change. I just hoped Kaya was ready for what was coming. The story broke like a tsunami. Within hours of publication, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, social media exploded, and news vans crowded outside Burke Industries headquarters. Your article has over 1 million shares, Skylar announced, refreshing her screen. And Burke Truth is trending. I was about to respond when my office door burst open. Ben stormed in, his face red with rage, waving a printout of my article. You little snake, he snarled. Do you have any idea what you've done? Exposed the truth? I stood my ground as he loomed over my desk. Or did you think those women would stay silent forever? I've already called my lawyers. This piece is nothing but lies and speculation. Really? I pulled up the audio recorder on my phone. Want to explain that to the 12 former employees who went on record? Or should we discuss the evidence from Dad's desk? His face paled slightly. Your father was a fool who let sentiment cloud his business judgment. My father, I said quietly, was a better person than you'll ever be. We'll see how righteous you feel when I'm done with you. He jabbed a finger at me. I'm going to what, Ben? Kaya's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, holding a tablet displaying my article. Threaten my sister like you threatened all those other women? Ben's demeanor instantly changed. Kaya, sweetheart, don't let her manipulate you. This is just jealousy over the inheritance. Stop. Kaya's voice cracked. I've spent the last 6 hours reading everything. The lawsuits, the settlements, the threats. I found the files you thought you'd deleted. Whatever you think you found, I found the truth. She stepped into the office. And now I'm finding my backbone. You don't understand business, Ben sneered. Your father knew that. Why do you think he put me in charge? He didn't, I interjected. Show him, Kaya. With trembling hands, Kaya produced a document. My inheritance came with conditions. Dad left me controlling interest, but with a clause. Any major decisions require board approval. Care to guess who he designated as the deciding vote? The Women's Foundation, I smiled. The one you were planning to dissolve. Ben lunged for the paper, but Kaya pulled it back. Security is on their way up, Ben, along with some people from the DA's office. You're making a mistake, he growled. Both of you. No, Kaya's voice strengthened. The mistake was letting you turn Dad's legacy into this. You're fired, Ben. Effective immediately. The security team arrived, accompanied by 2 serious-looking individuals with badges. As they led Ben away, his threats echoed down the hallway. Once he was gone, Kaya collapsed into a chair. I feel sick. You did the right thing, I said softly. Did I? The stock is plummeting. The board is in chaos. Everyone's calling for investigations. She looked up at me, eyes wet. What do we do now? We? I raised an eyebrow. I know I don't deserve your help. I've been horrible, wrapped up in myself, blind to everything that mattered to Dad. She pulled out a familiar envelope. But I found this in his study last night. Inside was another silver key pin and a note. For my daughter, who must learn to see beyond the surface. Your sister knows the way. He left us both keys, Kaya whispered. He knew we'd need each other. My phone buzzed. Talia was calling. The women from the foundation are gathering, she said when I answered. They want to help rebuild. I put the phone on speaker. All those women Dad helped over the years, they're offering support, expertise, connections. They want to honor his legacy the right way. A network of women helping women, Kaya mused. Like Dad always wanted. Exactly. I touched my key pin. But it'll take both of us, your business skills, my investigative instincts, and a whole lot of apologies from me. Kaya stood up, squaring her shoulders. Starting with Talia. Will you help me fix this, Sam? Through the office windows, I could see the media circus below, the story still unfolding. But for the first time since Dad's death, I felt like I could see the bigger picture he'd planned all along. That's what sisters are for, I said, offering her my hand. Ready to face the press? She clipped on her key pin, a match to mine. Ready to face everything. As we headed for the elevator, Kaya paused. Sam, thank you for not giving up on the truth. Or on me. Dad never gave up on either, I replied. Now let's go make him proud. The elevator doors opened to chaos, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing. But standing shoulder to shoulder with my sister, both wearing our silver keys, I knew we were finally asking the right questions. And more importantly, we were ready to find the answers together. I'm selling the mansion, Kaya announced, dropping a stack of papers on my desk. 2 weeks had passed since Ben's arrest, and each day brought new revelations about the company's past. You're what? I looked up from the latest batch of emails from women coming forward with their stories. It's too much. She sank into the chair across from me. The marble fountains, the 12 bedrooms, the tennis court. Dad never wanted any of that. I was just trying to prove something. To whom? Everyone? Myself? She twisted her silver keypin. You know what I found in my wing of the house yesterday? 3 pairs of the same shoes, tags still on. Who needs 3 identical pairs of $1,000 shoes? The old Kaya did, I said gently. The old Kaya was an idiot. She rubbed her temples. The foundation needs funding for the new mentorship program. The mansion could cover it for years. Before I could respond, Talia burst in. You need to see this. She turned on the office TV, where Ben's face filled the screen. Burke Industries has lost its way, he was saying from the steps of the courthouse. These accusations are a coordinated attack by bitter former employees and a vindictive heiress. I've done nothing wrong. Turn it up, Kaya whispered. Furthermore, Ben continued, I have evidence that Solomon Burke himself authorized every decision I made. His daughters are destroying his legacy with their misguided crusade. That, lying, Kaya started to rise, but I grabbed her arm. Wait for it. Right on cue, Mary appeared on screen, approaching the microphones. As Mr. Burke's former attorney, I have been authorized to release certain documents that directly contradict these claims. You knew? Kaya turned to me. Mary called this morning. Dad left a sealed envelope with explicit instructions. If anyone ever tried to blame him for the discrimination, release everything. We watched as Mary methodically dismantled Ben's claims, producing document after document showing Dad's opposition to the discriminatory policies. In fact, Mary concluded, Mr. Burke spent years building a secret support network for the very women his company was failing, a network his daughters are now bringing into the light. The reporters erupted with questions, but Ben had already fled into a waiting car. He's scared, Talia observed. Good. Kaya stood up, straightening her blazer. A simple one now, not the designer labels she used to wear. Because we're just getting started. My phone chimed with a message from Skylar. Meeting room, now. Big news. We found her surrounded by printouts, practically vibrating with excitement. Remember those 13-cent transfers? I finally cracked the pattern. She spread out a complex chart. Each amount corresponded to a woman in need. But the 13 cents? It was a code. Every transfer had a matching donation to a separate account. How much? I asked. Millions. Skylar grinned. All perfectly legal, all documented. Your father built a shadow fund right under everyone's noses. But where's the money now? Kaya asked. The door opened and Mary walked in, fresh from her press conference. That's where I come in. She placed a heavy folder on the table. Your father left very specific instructions. The fund was to remain secret until both his daughters wore the silver keys. Only then would its true purpose be revealed. Which is, I prompted, to transform Burke Industries into what it should have been all along, a force for change. The fund doesn't just have money. It has controlling interests in dozens of companies, all led by women your father helped over the years. Kaya sank into a chair. All this time, while I was planning parties, he was planning a revolution, I finished. But he needed both of you, Mary explained. Samantha's determination to uncover truth and Kaya's business acumen. Together, you can rebuild this company into something extraordinary. If you're willing to work together, Talia added. Kaya looked at me, tears in her eyes. I've been so awful to you. You're making up for it now. I squeezed her hand. That's what matters. Ladies, Skylar interrupted, pointing to her laptop. Twitter's exploding. Someone leaked photos of Ben meeting with known corporate raiders. They're planning a hostile takeover. Let them try, Kaya said, standing straighter. We have something they don't. What's that? Talia asked. Kaya touched her silver key, matching mine. Each other, and an army of women who aren't hiding anymore. So, I smiled. What's our next move? First, Kaya pulled out her phone. I'm calling the real estate agent. That mansion is going to serve a better purpose than hosting my parties. And then? She looked around the room at our growing team of allies. Then we show them what happens when women stop competing and start collaborating. Mary nodded approvingly. Your father would be proud. He knew, I realized. He knew we'd need to lose everything to find what really mattered. Including each other, Kaya added softly. Outside, the sun was setting on another day of changes, but for the first time, the chaos felt right. We had a plan, a purpose, and most importantly, we had each other. Ben wanted a war? Fine. He was about to learn what two sisters with their father's fighting spirit could really do. The boardroom crackled with tension as Ben strutted in with his team of corporate raiders. His smirk faltered when he saw the packed room, dozens of women wearing silver key pins, seated alongside the board members. This is a closed meeting, he snapped. Actually, Kaya rose from the head of the table. These women are all shareholders. Thanks to Dad's shadow fund, they own significant portions of Burke Industries. I couldn't help but smile at his confusion. Remember all those women you pushed out? Turns out Dad made sure they'd have a voice when it mattered most. Impossible, Ben sputtered. I've seen the shareholder records. The public ones, sure. Talia stepped forward, distributing documents. But Mr. Burke was quite clever with his shell companies and trust funds. This is ridiculous, one of Ben's raiders objected. We have agreements with major stockholders. Had agreements, Mary corrected, entering with another stack of papers. Those stockholders received some very interesting information about your past dealings this morning. They've reconsidered their positions. Ben's face reddened. You can't what? Kaya interrupted. Protect our father's company? Support the women you victimized? Watch. She nodded to Skylar, who clicked a remote. The boardroom screen lit up with a presentation. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Kaya began, I present the future of Burke Industries. The next 30 minutes were a masterclass in preparation. Kaya outlined a complete company restructuring, emphasizing ethical leadership and women's empowerment, backed by solid financial projections and support from major investors. The mansion's sale alone funds the first year of our mentorship program, she explained, and our partnership with the Women's Foundation. This is business, not charity, Ben cut in desperately. It's both, I stood up, and we have proof it works. I gestured to the women around the table. Every person here represents a success story. Entrepreneurs, executives, leaders who thrived when given the chance. Dad saw their potential. Now everyone else will too. The vote is simple, Kaya concluded. Continue with the old model, or embrace a future where profit and purpose coexist. Choose wisely. Ben slammed his hand on the table. This company will fail under your leadership. Like it failed when you drove out talented women? Talia asked. When you covered up harassment? When you prioritized greed over growth? I built this company. No, a quiet voice interrupted. All heads turned to the door where an elderly board member stood. Solomon built this company. I've served on this board for 40 years, watched him nurture his vision. And today, for the first time since his death, I see that vision clearly again. One by one, the board members began to nod. Ben's raiders shifted uncomfortably. "The vote," Kaya announced, "is now open." The next few minutes were tense as votes were cast electronically. When the results appeared on screen, Ben's face went ashen. "Unanimous," Mary declared. "The restructuring plan is approved. Mr. Nelson's takeover bid is rejected." "This isn't over," Ben threatened, gathering his papers. "Actually, it is." Two police officers entered the room. "Benjamin Nelson, you're under arrest for securities fraud and witness tampering." As they led him away, his final shouts echoed down the hall. "You'll regret this." "No," Kaya whispered. "I only regret not seeing the truth sooner." The room erupted in applause and congratulations. Women who had once been forced out of the company were now hugging, crying, celebrating their return to power. "There's one more thing," I announced, pulling out an envelope. "Dad left this with Mary, to be opened when the company was safe." Inside was a single photograph. Dad in his office, much younger, with Kaya and me as children. We were both wearing plastic toy keys as necklaces, playing at being business ladies. "He knew," Kaya's voice cracked. "Even back then he was preparing us." "For this exact moment," Mary added, "when his daughters would unlock the company's true potential." Talia approached with champagne. "To the new Burke Industries." As glasses clinked and plans were made, I watched Kaya work the room. Gone was the superficial party girl, replaced by a confident leader who knew her worth wasn't measured in designer labels. "We did it," Skylar appeared at my side. "The story's coming full circle." "Not quite," I smiled, touching my key pin. "This is just the first chapter." Kaya caught my eye across the room and raised her glass. In that moment, I saw what Dad had always seen. Two sisters with different strengths but the same heart, ready to carry his legacy forward. "To asking the right questions," Kaya called out. "And finding the right answers," I finished. The boardroom filled with the sound of clinking glasses and renewed purpose. Outside, the press would be waiting for statements about Ben's arrest and the company's transformation. But for now, we celebrated not just a victory, but a vindication of Dad's faith in us. His $5 inheritance had bought something priceless, the truth that set everything right. "Ready?" Kaya adjusted my key pin, which had become slightly crooked during the morning's chaos. "Born ready." I smoothed down my blazer, smiling at our matching silver keys. Though public speaking was always more your thing. We stood backstage at the company's annual shareholders meeting, but this one was different. The auditorium buzzed with energy, packed with faces both familiar and new, women who'd been part of Dad's secret network, now stepping into the light. "Your father would be proud," Mary whispered, joining us with last-minute documents. "Both the company's profits and its impact metrics have exceeded all projections." "Imagine that," I grinned. "Doing good actually makes good business sense." 5 minutes, Skylar called out, tablet in hand. "Social media's already trending. Everyone wants to know what the Burke sisters are announcing today." Kaya squeezed my hand. "Think Ben will be watching from prison?" "Probably, along with everyone else who said we'd fail." Talia rushed over with breaking news on her phone. "The last lawsuit was just settled. All victims will be compensated, and the company's new harassment prevention program is being hailed as an industry standard." "Perfect timing," Kaya nodded. "Sam, you're up first." I walked onto the stage to enthusiastic applause, the spotlight warm on my face. "Good morning." A year ago, I stood in a lawyer's office, holding a $5 bill and a cryptic note from my father. Today, I'm here to tell you what that $5 really bought. The screen behind me filled with images, women receiving business grants, mentorship meetings, new corporate policies being signed into effect. It bought truth, justice, change. But most importantly, it bought something my father knew we'd need: perspective. The perspective to see that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in lives improved. Kaya joined me on stage, which is why we're excited to announce the launch of the Solomon Burke Foundation for Women in Business. Every woman who receives support will get their own silver key pin, becoming part of a growing network of mutual support and empowerment. But that's not all, I continued. We're also announcing a partnership with 12 other major corporations to implement similar programs. The ripple effect starts today. The audience erupted in cheers. In the front row, I spotted the elderly board member who'd supported us that crucial day, tears in his eyes as he applauded. Our father left us a choice, Kaya addressed the crowd. We could compete with each other or complete each other. We chose completion, and that has made all the difference. After the presentation, we gathered in Dad's old office, now a shared space for the Foundation's leadership team. The desk had been restored to its rightful place, its hidden compartments now holding new secrets, new plans for the future. I have something for you both, Mary said, producing a small package. Your father left this with very specific instructions, to be opened only when you'd proven you could work together. Inside was a framed photo of Dad with our mother, taken at the company's founding. They both wore silver keys. The original keys, Mary explained. Your mother was his first partner in the mission to empower women in business. He always said the company had two hearts, profit and purpose, like his two daughters. Look at the back, Schuyler pointed. A handwritten note was taped to the frame. To my girls, now you understand why $5 was enough. Some inheritances can't be measured in money. Love, Dad. He knew, Kaya whispered. He knew we'd figure it out. Eventually, I laughed, wiping my eyes. A knock at the door interrupted us. Talia with more good news. The mentorship applications are flooding in. Women from all over the country want to be part of this. Then let's not keep them waiting, Kaya said. We've got work to do. As everyone filed out to celebrate, I lingered by Dad's desk, touching the worn wood that had hidden so many secrets. You coming? Kaya asked, pausing at the door. Just thinking about that $5 bill. I kept it, you know. Of course you did, she smiled. The journalist never throws away evidence. Want to know what I finally did with it? What? I opened the desk drawer and pulled out a small frame. Inside was the $5 bill, mounted alongside Dad's note about asking the right questions. Perfect, Kaya nodded. A reminder of where we started, and who helped us get here. I hung it on the wall beside the photo of our parents. Ready to go change more lives? With my sister by my side? Kaya linked her arm through mine. Always. We walked out together, our silver keys catching the light. Outside, a new generation of women waited to receive their own keys, to unlock their own potential. Dad's legacy lived on, not in the money he left behind, but in the truth he helped us discover, that the greatest inheritance is the power to make a difference. And that was worth far more than $5.